Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to develop a healthy relationship with food. I think this is such an important topic. I also think this is a topic that a lot of us deal with in our lives in one way or another. This is a video that I've been wanting to make for a while. I just didn't know exactly how I wanted to put it out, just because talking about food on YouTube in general is a very sensitive topic. I really just want to share how I got to the point where I am today, you know, having a really healthy relationship with food, being so happy with my body, especially as a model. So instead of doing this like a regular sit-down video, I thought this would be better. Sorry, my phone. I thought this would be better in form of a Q&A. I put up a little question box on Instagram. I asked you guys to put in any topics that you want me to go over, any things that you really struggle with. That's what we're gonna do. So I'll start with this question. When did you notice a bad pattern and what did you change? This is a really good question because I think in order to change something, whether it's to do with food or anything in life, you have to notice that there is an issue or that you're not happy or that you don't feel good. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to make the change, right? Like the change has to come from us. So when it comes to my story, I noticed that I had a bad pattern when I was just fluctuating in weight a lot. I would be really good for 2 months. I'd be really steady in my weight. And then I would start to put on weight and, you know, get off track with food. And I just got to this point, I've talked about this before, but I just got to this point where I was tired of that. I really wanted to just be at a stable weight, you know, not fluctuating all the time. Yeah, just like feel good all the time. What was the second part? Oh yeah, what did I change? I sort of had to change everything. I had the knowledge, I knew how to eat, I knew what to do, I knew how to, you know, lose the weight and all of that. I just didn't, yeah, put it into action, I guess. So what I started doing was I started looking long-term, and I started thinking like, you know what, if this is my career, and on top of that, like if this is my life, I need to make this something that I can do every single day, still enjoy all the things in life, still enjoy food and all of that, but also just make it sustainable and healthy and like not deprive myself. How to avoid looking at food as medicine to worries, anxiety, or problems. This is a good one. I feel like a lot of us do this in one way or another. In order to stop looking at food as a coping mechanism for our emotions or for our problems, we have to first find other ways to cope with them other than food. So this is going to be a little bit different for everyone, but I always say how whenever I'm stressed, I like to go for a walk, or I listen to music, or I call a friend, or I meditate. A lot of people think that a bad relationship with food is because of like what you're eating, and it's really not, right? Like a bad relationship with food is developed because you have an emotional attachment to the food. So once you're able to like remove that emotional attachment to food and you're able to deal with your emotions in other ways, food kind of leaves the equation. And you know, not saying that you'll never do it, because we all have nights where, you know, we've had a long day and we want a glass of wine, or like we're going through a breakup and we want our ice cream, you know? But just as like an overall theme, I guess, if every time something stressful happens, or if every time a situation arises, you know, in your life and you reach for food, that's when you develop that unhealthy attachment. And if you find other ways to cope, other ways that actually help you cope with those problems and solve them, you won't even really think about the food as a coping mechanism anymore, because you'll actually realize that the food doesn't really like help you solve the problem, right? It's just a sense of comfort. It's kind of a different way of looking at it, I guess, but if you remove the emotions from it, the food really isn't solving your problems. So you have to find something that's either actually going to help you cope or that's actually going to help solve the problem. Next question is how to stop binge eating. Binge eating is kind of a complex topic just because there's obviously different ends of the spectrum, there's different extremes. For regular binge eating that happens like once in a while, I would just say like make sure you're not overly restricting yourself. I feel like a lot of binge eating happens when you are like dieting, you're in extreme dieting, and you get to this point where you just kind of like lose control and you eat everything in sight. So don't overly restrict yourself, even if you are dieting or you're trying to lose weight. Like, you have to look at the long-term approach, and you have to think like, I need to do this in a healthy way. I need to like feed myself with enough calories and enough nutrients to actually have energy to do things and to go about my life, right? In order to stop binging, you just want to make your diet very regular. You want to eat every few hours. You want to eat enough food for your body. I think a lot of people don't realize that they undereat throughout the day and then they overeat at night. So you kind of want to fix that balance, right? If you eat enough throughout the day and you're satiating yourself, you're nourishing your body, you're giving it everything it needs, you won't even feel like you need to overeat because you've already ate enough for your body. Especially for people who tend to overeat at night or people who binge at night, like, make sure you're eating enough throughout the day. Don't go through the whole day on a coffee and like a muffin from Starbucks, you know what I mean? Like, really just like feed your body and prioritize that. I think that's super important. So there's that, and then there's the second part of it. The second part of why I feel like people binge is, again, this like emotional dependency or this coping mechanism that's related to food. So going back to what I said previously, like, if you deal with your emotions in a healthy way that's not related to food, you will also be less likely to have these binging episodes or have these moments of overeating. When you really take a look at what a healthy relationship with food is, you're gonna discover that it's actually a transferable skill for all the relationships you will ever have with yourself and with other people. Like, it's the exact same thing. It's just getting to know yourself, being self-aware, and dealing with things in a healthy way. That's all there is to it, really, you know? The only thing that changes is the kind of relationship that it is. Is it a relationship with yourself? Is it a relationship with a partner? Is it a relationship with food? And you have to do the work to achieve success in all those areas, right? And you have to like, yeah, you kind of have to like train yourself to live that healthy life. How do you find a balance with maintaining a healthy diet but not being too strict about food? Great question. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about the 80-20 rule, and I feel like that's a really good way of thinking about it, is like the bulk of your diet and the bulk of your life is going to be spent eating healthy, you know? Like, you really want that base to be solid, and you want like the bulk of your lifestyle to be healthy, because that's how you know, end up getting the most out of your days. That's how you get longevity in life, and that's how you also like get the energy to do everything you want to do. So you do, in a sense, want to prioritize healthy eating most of the time. So I think it's about establishing that first, and establishing like that healthy base in your life. And then once you have that, it's okay to like have moments or have days where you don't necessarily eat all of that, because when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, you're healthy. I guess the best thing to do in this situation is to just like recognize when you're eating something that's out of the norm and be like, hey, I'm like about to enjoy this pizza. I'm gonna love every second of it. And then tomorrow I'm just gonna go back to eating the way that I always do. And I think that that's how you find the balance and you harmonize those two things, is just by enjoying it, but also being able to get back on track the next day without restricting yourself or without trying to work it off. How to be in a social environment without feeling pressured to drink alcohol. Ooh. Sorry. I got a couple questions like this also about food, like what do you order, or how do you deal with being in a social environment when you're on a strict regime. I think the alcohol thing gets a little bit easier as you get older, because you kind of just don't care, you know? At least that's how I feel. Like, whenever I'm eating out or going out to a dinner, if I don't want to drink, I won't drink. And I think it also has to do with the environment. Like, my friends and the people that I go out with will never really care what I do. They kind of just care about themselves, you know, and do what they want. And there is no judgment. But I can understand that if you're in a college setting and, you know, you're young and your friends are pressuring you to drink, that it can be a little bit more difficult. I'm trying to think of like an actual tip for this, because I feel like my answer for this isn't super helpful. In terms of like feeling included, I actually know someone who was on a very strict diet because she had mercury poisoning. So she couldn't drink alcohol for like over a year, I don't think. And what she would do is she would ask for, I can probably put the recipe for what she would ask the bartender for in the description box. I'm gonna ask her about this. But she would ask the bartender for like a light version of the cocktails that her friends were drinking. So instead of getting a mocktail, she would tailor that drink to suit the requirements of her diet. So she would do something like soda water with lime and like grapefruit juice, and that would be her like mocktail, or her healthy version of a cocktail. I know it can probably be a little weird sometimes to go to a bartender and be like, hey, can you fix me this special non-alcoholic drink? But honestly, like, if you don't ask, you'll never know, right? And at the same time, it's like that's kind of what they're there for. So if you just tell them what you want and they have the ingredients, I don't see why they shouldn't be able to make it for you. Okay, I'm gonna answer one more question. And I feel like this question is important. This question is also really common. How to get rid of / suppress / control cravings, especially at night. And I feel like a lot of us can relate to this, because cravings, for some reason, after 8 p.m. at night, the cravings just strike and they're out of control. So I've actually realized something about myself recently when it comes to cravings. If I have cravings at night and I know that I've eaten enough during the day, I know that I really am not hungry, it usually just means that I'm dehydrated. So that's a little tip. I know there's this whole thing about like, oh, drink a glass of water when you're hungry, but there's actually like something to that point. So yeah, if I have really strong cravings at night and I know that I've eaten enough that day, I just hit the Brita, or I get my little seltzer waters that I love. And more often than not, like, I actually was a little dehydrated and I didn't drink enough water that day. That being said though, like, sometimes you just have to give in to cravings. I give in to cravings sometimes. It's just about knowing like when to give in and when to be like, you know what, you're good tonight, you don't need this. And being able to be disciplined with yourself about that. So guys, that's gonna be it for the questions. Before I end this video, I do wanna leave you guys off on a positive, inspiring note when it comes to food. I just want you guys to really love your body in this process. Be kind to your body, be patient, especially if you're going through a big change in terms of what you're feeding your body, moving into a healthier lifestyle. Like, those type of changes take time. Same with if you're someone who is trying to get away from binge eating or overeating, or, you know, emotional eating, just trying to detach from that. Those things take time, and you have to be kind to yourself. You have to understand that there are going to be moments where you maybe slip up, or you eat something you're not planning on or supposed to eat. We don't want to feel guilty for these moments. We don't want to beat ourselves up for them, but we also don't want to get in this trap of like waiting for a new month to start over. Have the moment, enjoy the moment, and get back on track the next day. That is going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any more questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. And because this is a food video and this is a sensitive topic for a lot of people, I am going to leave some help links down below as well, just in case anybody watching this feels like they need a little bit of extra help, regardless of what the area is. Those links will be available to you too. So thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!